Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Eric Shapiro, Sait, Izmit, and Mike James.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the evolution of user experiences with apps. And to hope to make sure that you guys are in the right session, since we changed the title of the session several times during our preparation, I've had it on the board here so you know what we'll be talking about. I think this is a really great session. We're going to have 3 speakers, and then if there's any time, we'll have a Q&A at the end. And our goal is to actually talk about how app experiences are changing and what you actually need to be doing about that in your thinking of and how you're creating your apps. So let me start by actually telling you a little bit about who I am and why I'm here. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of ArcTouch, which is a mobile and connected experiences studio. And basically, what that means is we're a 100-person company where we focus on working with companies like you see here to help them come up with the strategy, design, and implementation of their apps across all devices, from phones to tablets to smartwatches, et cetera. So we are seeing this evolution happen today, and it's pervasive in everything from consumer apps to enterprise apps to apps that go to employees as well. So as we go through this, if you need any thoughts or help on actually building any of the apps that we're talking about, please come up and see me afterwards. So let's do a little history lesson. In the beginning, there were just apps for smartphones. And it was good. And that's how we were for several years. We all created apps, we played around with them, we launched them, the App Store grew, and everybody had this experience that made a lot of sense. Mobile phones were used in environments like commuting to work or standing in line at the supermarket and being able to pull up some information, not as much information as you might have on your desktop, but being able to really interact with brands and your company's data, et cetera, while on the go. And then Jobs said, let there be iPad. And we thought, just a big iPhone? And suddenly the experience changed. Companies and developers who simply took their apps and expanded them, having them fill the iPad screen. And I remember we did this with some of the apps that we did. We said, oh, in 2 weeks we can expand it to fill the screen. Those apps failed. The reason those apps failed is because the experience, the user's experience with an iPad or with tablets is different. It's a more laid-back experience. People use tablets when they're sitting on the couch or in bed, relaxing. It's a shared experience. It's not a phone experience. And so the apps that succeeded, the apps that really took off, are those that reimagined the experience for the user. Now, that was just the beginning of how the experiences have changed. We are now in a world of connected devices. We've got wearables and smartwatches and TVs that have apps installed on them and homes that you can talk to, cars, VR, AR, and now the year of the chatbot. That's what people are talking about. So the way people are experiencing apps is evolving. And you must evolve the way you think about your app experiences as well. Each of the items that you see on here is a different experience, and you need to be thinking about that. Your app needs to be different. Don't just try to cram your app into these different experiences. So, to give you a real concrete example of what we're talking about and how this might work, what I'd like to do is actually talk about an app that we created for the San Jose Earthquakes, professional soccer, and tell you how you could see this experience working in all of these different connected devices. So we'll think about it in 2 different ways. The first is as you go to a match. And here you have the ability to look at what's coming up, You can find out a little bit about the match. You might be able to look a few stats up, et cetera. But a key focus for this client that we worked with was quick micro interactions. We don't want the user of this app focusing on the app. We want them focusing on the game. That is not the thing that we want to do, so we think about that when we did the experience. And then, when the Apple Watch came out, we gave people the ability to have a glance. And Apple called this glances. It really makes a lot of sense because really you have seconds to get across the point. Here's where your seat is. Here's a way for you to get into your location with your ticket, et cetera. Very fast, very short experience. No one is actually interacting with the watch in this example except to quickly look and see, where am I supposed to be going. And then when you're in your seat and you want to do something like order a hot dog, what's the best way for you to do that? And we've imagined that that experience could actually be a chatbot. And so what we have here is we've designed what a chat experience might look like in this case, where you're in. This is the Facebook Messenger chatbot, where you can actually say, "I'd like a hot dog," and the chatbot will interact with you to find out where you want and where you'd like that hot dog to be delivered to. So when you're at home, the experience is also different. And it started with an experience of sitting back on your couch and experiencing the game from your iPad, being able to look up things or be able to do instant replays, et cetera. The experience got bigger and more involved. And the users of these apps are actually engaging with your app in a much larger, much more time-intensive fashion. And that expanded when Apple introduced the Apple TV, and we now see it with Google Chromecast and Fire TV. And now what we have is television experiences, smart apps that are running on your television where you actually can experience the entire game but customize the experience. You can choose what will display on the screen around this. And if you guys have had a chance to check out MLB's app for Apple TV is a great example of how this is done. And finally, with the smart home and connected devices, your entire experience can become immersive. Your entire living room can come alive when your team actually scores, interacting with your home, interacting with your Philips Hue lights. And the example we have here. So these are real examples, and in fact, in a moment, Sait from Philips is going to come up and talk about how all these things can come together. The most important thing for you to take away at this point is that as developers, we do not just create mobile apps for smartphones anymore. We need to be thinking about, we need to be evolving the way we think about experiences, and we are creating connected experiences using all of these devices. So with that in mind, what I'd like to do is call Sait up, and he will tell us a little bit more about Philips and Philips Hue.
Thanks, Eric. Hi, everyone. My name is Sait Izmit. I'm the R&D director for Philips Hue in Americas. So I think Eric gives a nice message, right? So we should not just think about making mobile apps. It's about connected experiences. And as Philips Lighting, we are also going through some transitions as a lighting industry. So I would like to kick it off with a short movie. Let's just see what we mean by connected experiences in lighting.
Can lighting go beyond illumination? When it gets us out of bed and starts our day? When it remembers for us? When it brightens our streets? And when it knows we've arrived? Helping us to be more productive. Can lighting go beyond illumination? When it gathers information, allowing us to better understand and manage our buildings. Can lighting go beyond illumination? When it guides and informs us? when it knows what we like, and then makes sure that what is offered is appealing. Can lighting go beyond illumination when it gives us the complete picture, helping us fix problems as they happen, with new efficiencies, keeping us safe, improving our environment, and making our cities better places to live. Can lighting go beyond illumination? Yes, when it connects.
So as lighting industry, So as lighting industry, we are going through a very big technology transformation. As many of you are aware, we are changing to LEDs. So that brings 80–90% energy saving, nice for the planet, nice for you. But it also brings opportunities, because all of a sudden we start putting semiconductors in light bulbs or light sources. So we can make them smart, we can make them intelligent, we can connect them to the internet. But why would we do that? So there are two aspects to it. At one hand, the light sources we have, they are becoming more capable. So now you can create different colors, different shades of white with light. You can dim them, you can create dynamics effect, you can react very fast to it. With older technologies, that was not always possible. It was very limited within the capabilities of that technology. And on top of that, now we are getting very exciting ways of interacting with light. It's not only the dimmers or the switches you have in the wall or let's say, the buttons that you have on your luminaire. Now, all of a sudden, we have things like wearables. We interact with lights using mobile apps. Our homes are becoming smarter. They are getting integrated with more smart devices, sensors. And also, let's not forget, voice is coming in. Right now, this is one of the hottest IoT products out there, Amazon Echo, where you can actually say, Alexa, please turn off my lights. Or you can talk to Siri, and then you can control your lights. And what we do is that we use all these different ways of interacting with lights also at the same time. So when we are designing experiences, when we are, let's say, developing products, you cannot just think that, OK, I only focus on my mobile app. Because while someone is playing with that mobile app, another person is actually hitting the switch, and God knows what my son is trying to do with it. Yeah? So this all requires also a different way of thinking. Historically, lighting is not a very emotional category. So usually once in a while, your light bulb breaks down. You take it out, you go to the supermarket or do it yourself. You look for the highest wattage, lowest price. You make sure that the sockets fit, and then you buy one. And then you have light. But now we have opportunities. Now we can do much more beyond illumination. So we can create experiences. So that also means that we need to think and talk in a different language, not on technical specs, technical capabilities. So now we think about how lighting can contribute to your peace of mind, how it can scare ghosts while you're at home and while you're away from home, how you can comfortably interact with it, how you can basically transform your spaces to fit the moments of your day, and how you can trigger your imagination with lighting. And what I would like to do in the coming few slides is I would like to give you a few examples of these things, just to give you an idea what we are talking about. So right now, using geolocation, geofencing, we are able to know when we are at home and when we're not at home. So we can now talk about welcome home or leaving home kind of scenes. We can talk about when I'm away from my home, that my lighting can mimic and can actually mimic my presence at home as if I'm there. If I'm on a beach having a vacation, then I have my peace of mind, that I know that my house is taken care of. And I can take this further. So I can also make use of, for example, web services. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with IFTTT, but I can, for example, make sure that when the sun rises, that my lights turn off. When the sun sets, I make sure that the light at the front of my door is actually on. If it's going to rain, I can make my lights blue. If I get a social media like, I can make my lights blink. And let's take it even one step further. As Eric mentioned, the homes are becoming more smarter. There's more and more connected devices are coming into your home. So we are not only talking about intelligent light bulbs anymore. So we are talking about intelligent door locks. We are talking about connected doorbells, talking about connected thermostats, let's say smoke detectors, security cameras, smart fridges. So all these connected devices or smart devices, they're implementing their own use cases. But what we are also now seeing is that we can actually connect multiple of these smart devices to implement even more unique use cases, which we call 1 + 1 makes 3. So if I leave the room, if my Nest Cam detects that, I can turn off my light. If my Nest thermostat knows that I'm away from home, it can automatically trigger that my light scenes are actually triggered, as if I'm at home. And hopefully it never happens, but if my Nest smoke detector let's say detects that something is happening, it can also turn the lights red and help me to get out of the house and warm me. And again, we talked about transforming your moments. So we don't want to talk anymore about what is the dim level of a light or what is the Kelvin color temperature of a lamp and so on. So we want to talk about what is the right light for the best moment. So we can set the lights to a relaxing mode. We can set the lights to the best light setting that is good for reading. If you want to work, we can set them on a concentration mode. If you just woke up, you need energy, we can put them in an energy mode. So we can really make use of the biological effects of light. And we can even take that one step further. So how can I contextually trigger those light settings? So we already know what is the right light settings for those occasions. So with the smart homes, with our homes getting more, let's say, intelligent, where we are also making use of more mobile as social media, whatever, how can we make sure, or how can we try to find these simple triggers that, for example, we say that, a family is sitting in their living room watching TV, so let me set the lights to relaxing mode. So how can we have contextual-driven lighting? So those are the next steps that we are exploring right now. And they are not very far that you will actually start experiencing those in your homes. And of course, I cannot give you a presentation about Hue without showing the fantastic colors of Hue. So you can also paint with Hue. So you can also actually create much more immersive, let's say, ambiences in your homes. You can make those static, but you can also make them dynamic, that they are slowly changing colors or changing, let's say, the experience that you have in your house. And let's talk a little bit about entertainment, and let's talk a little bit about your imagination. So this is one of our most, let's say, popular apps, developed by 2 brilliant Dutch developers. It's called Hue Disco. So what it does is that from the microphone, it listens to the music, and then according to the music, it can actually turn your living room lights or your whatever lights in your house into disco lighting. You can become a light jockey yourself. And you don't need professional equipment. It doesn't matter where the music is playing, you can transform your house into a nightclub. And then this app is so amazing, at the end, actually, we also use it for special occasions. So with, let's say, Live Nation, for example, we organize something called Living Light Sessions for upcoming artists. And then we shoot videos where we put online in a living room setting, and then we actually use Hue Disco to create those really interactive and immersive experiences there. A couple of months ago, we sponsored an album launch for Star Wars Space, which is an electronic music album. So I was literally standing in a living room, and then I had Hue Disco. I was creating all disco lighting, and there was 2 Star Troopers next to me. So it's really amazing. And of course, you can talk about music, but what about video? Let me give you the example of Sci-Fi Sync app. What Sci-Fi Sync does is that if you're watching at-home series like 12 Monkeys, Expanse, Sharknado, actually, there are light scripts associated with those series. And then using this Sync app, you can actually have light scripts playing in your living room. So you can take that 2D experience that you see on the screen. As Philips, we had these ambient TVs where we actually try to extend that experience to the wall at the back. But now with Hue, what we want to do is that we want to make it 3D. We want to do surround lighting. And these guys are already doing that. So you become part of that immersive experience. And this is just a start. There's already quite a lot of other things cooking, which you will be seeing in the coming period, where you will be able to have very immersive video series experiences in your homes, just watching your TV. And of course, gaming. I'm sure a lot of people enjoy it. We already have let's say, a game from a company called Freema on the market called Chariot, which actually syncs with Hue lights. And then as you are playing basically your game at home, what you see is that depending on what is happening in the game, then also your light starts interacting with you. And then again, this is just an example of what we do today, and we are discussing with many more gaming studios to actually take this to the next level, for the first-person shooters to all kinds of different game genres. This is, again, just to give you a bit of flavor of how we actually now, as a lighting company, start talking about connected experiences and how those connected experiences actually can help for your peace of mind or your moments of your day or your imagination. But we also know that we cannot innovate everything. We also know that this system has much more potential. These connected devices have much more potentials. So that's why it was very important for us from the beginning to make sure that we have an open system. So we have an open SDK and an open API because we wanted to make sure that the whole world develops and then innovates together with us. And I would like to show you a second video where actually one of those brilliant developers did something to really improve people's lives with light. Now let's see what he did.
I was born deaf. My family's deaf. My parents, my brothers, all of us. We grew up having these, using our native languages, American Sign Language, so we had these amazing intellectual conversations. We discussed politics, art, just like everybody else. But one thing that was always different for us was the technology. We had this huge, clunky, archaic typewriter-type machine, and for the ring, it was a separate little box with a light bulb screwed into the top of it, and its only function was to ring. And when it rang, boy, did it ring. The entire house blew up with light. With the convo lights and the Philips Hue technology, it allows us to design what I want. I could leave the phone on the table. I don't have to worry about it. It allowed us to be mobile in the room. The lighting would adjust. I could change it to a customized ringtone, whatever I want. And a specific bulb as well. When I connect to a call, I don't have to worry about the lighting. Everything comes up fully. It's a better quality video call. Now I feel like I've got my own customized ringtone. We're able to add music through color. Soft, bright, energetic, whatever I want. It's able to customize my experience, add functionality within the app. Everything's smart lighting. I don't have to worry about moving around the room, adjusting lighting. Everything's taken care of with the Philips Hue lighting system. Automatically does it right there. Missed call, then I have notification to a red light. Just like you have a red badge icon. Everything's right there within the system. We've never had something like that before, and it really is mind-blowing.
And this is just one example of the many. So currently, Hue has about 500 independent apps in the App Store. And then we see people doing really amazing things with it. We see people trying different ways of controlling light. We see people, for example, creating dynamic light scenes in your living room. We see people already showed you doing things with music. We have people experimenting new technology, what you can do with gesture control, what you can do with smart plugs and, let's say, in-house indoor localization, so that you know where you are in the room. We have people doing things for kids, for families, for learning. So there's all kinds of things there. And that's also, I think, really the power of having an open system there. And of course, as Hue, then we also take it by the heart. I mean, for us, it's the core of our story as well. So we want to make sure that our developer community becomes part of our story. So we also, for example, communicate constantly with our Hue users. So we have a recommendation for the app of the month, where we say it can be a very popular app, but it can be also something, maybe a niche, a very unique use case that we want to make sure that people become aware of it. Sometimes we organize social media campaigns around specific apps. So for example, for Hue Disco, we did one social media campaign where we said, okay, let's teach you how you can make best use of this experience in your home, that you can have best entertainment experiences with light. Or if there's a special event like Halloween, then we sometimes team up with our developers and then we make some special Halloween apps and so on. Just to give you some ideas. So with this being said, now I would like to hand the word over to Mike. And then Mike can tell you a little bit about the Hue developer program. And he can also try to show you a few things to show how easy it is to actually get started with Hue. Thank you.
So who here has already done the mini hack? So a couple of you. So there's a lot of people in this room that after this session, you need to head out there, grab a stool, and start writing code, because this is awesome. So before I worked for Xamarin, I worked for an architectural lighting control company. I actually went to university and studied lighting control, if you can believe that that's a degree. I used to control things like the lights for things like the London Eye, all of the bridges along the Thames, as well as theatre shows. So lighting is kind of a real passion of mine. And normally, if you want to kind of go for home automation and intelligent lighting control, you would have to go and spend a fortune. You'd have to go and get Lutron or start chipping away at the walls and run lines of DMX. And it was hellishly expensive, whereas with Philips Hue, I was able to add home automation and intelligent lighting control to my home with very minimal expenditure just by going and buying some new lamps and plugging into the existing sockets. So I absolutely loved it. And I still do love it, to be fair. Now, as a developer, the thing that interests me most about the Philips Hue is how open the platform is. We're not just stuck to the app that Philips produced for us. If we're not happy with that or we want to extend it to do something new, well, we can just use the same APIs that their developers are using to build something that works for us. So to get started with that, you probably want to go over to the Philips Hue's website and register. And the reason you'll want to register is because you get access to the API docs. So this gives you information about everything you need to know as a developer. It doesn't matter what language. If you're a C# developer, if you're a Swift developer, Objective-C, Java, it really doesn't matter. You're going to find all of the information you need to know in order to get started in the developer portal. So I can't recommend enough just getting on there and signing up for that. Now, there's a couple of SDKs because, who really wants to be parsing JSON themselves? You want an SDK to abstract that away from you and just focus on the core functionality of what you're trying to create. So Philips ship an Apple SDK built with Objective-C and a Java SDK or Android SDK built with Java. Now, we could create bindings to these. We ship Objective-Sharpie, which is the same tool that we use internally to create the bindings. So when Apple next month release iOS 10, and there's a whole new load of APIs, we fire up Objective-Sharpie and we pass through those header files, and we get that one-to-one binding to all those platform APIs. Now, you could do that for the official Philips SDKs if you want. But actually, there's some third-party SDKs that are going to make your lives much, much easier and allow you to share even more code. So the mini hack that's out in the mini hack area uses a NuGet package called q42.hue API. Now, I actually found out when we were setting up the mini hack, one of my colleagues came over and he was like, "What are you using to control this?" And I showed him the q42.hue API NuGet, and he's like, "Oh, that's got my code in it." So if you have any issues, I can definitely go and point you to him, and you should. I'm sure he'll hate me to say who he is, so I won't. But with that said, let's jump into a demo. Boom. So we're over onto my Mac here. Now I'm going to walk through the mini hack, and I've completed it already. The mini hack is 9 steps. Super simple. I've tried to make it as easy as possible. So even if you've got no experience with C#, after 10, 15 minutes, you should be able to get this up and running. We don't want anyone to leave Evolve without having done the mini hack and having turned a light bulb on and off from their iPhone or Android device. Now, is there anyone here using UWP or Windows Phone? So there's 4 of you. If you want to do the mini hack, I can make it work for you. Come and find me, and I'll make it work. It's just a couple of extra lines on my part, but there's 4 more than I expected. So because this is a Xamarin Forms app, we've got 3 projects within the solution. Now, you don't need to do anything within the iOS or Android project. All of the work that you need to write is within the shared code. I've already grabbed all the packages for you. I've already done all of the glue code, so it's ready to go. And I've made it even easier by adding these tasks. So we can come in here and we can see I've got a to-do item. We need to set the app name and device name. So I can just come in and click on that, and boom, we go to the exact line of code that we need to implement. Now, you're going to need a unique app name and device name, because that's how the bridge knows if your app is allowed to control the lights. Because what you don't want is your friend popping over for a cup of tea, very British of me, and they pull out their phone and they start turning your lights off. You want to be able to control who has access to your lighting system. So to do that, you have to register your application with the hub. Now, there's a button in the middle of the hub. Now, this is the new hub. You're probably thinking, this doesn't look like the hub that's outside. This is the one that supports HomeKit. Now, this is the one everyone wants, because we can walk around and we go, hey, Siri, turn my bedroom light on, and boom, it works. It's amazing. So you definitely want this one, but you'll want to be pressing the button in the middle to register your app. Now, you want to do that first before you make the next call, or number 3, which is register. So we use this Hue local client, or local Hue client, I should say, and there is a remote Hue client as well. So this SDK supports doing this all over the internet if you want as well. But just for this, the Wi-Fi, conference Wi-Fi is never great, so we decided to keep it local. And even then, we've had a couple of issues getting it working, but IT managed to fix that for us. It works first time, every time at home. Bring it here, put 12 of them all together, all broadcasting, separate Wi-Fi channels, madness. But it works flawlessly now that IT got involved. So what we want to do is we want to register our application, and here is where we use that app name and device name. And we're not animals, so we use async. And once it passes back a key that the bridge will give you, it's a string key, we want to store that. So that next time our app launches and we try and register, we go, well, we've got this key, there you go, and the bridge says, yep, I know of this device, I know of this app, you're okay to go through, you don't need to go and find the bridge and press the button again. Once you've done that, you'll want to discover all of the lamps that are connected to the bridge. So this is going to be the second tab, and it's going to show you a list of every single lamp that's available to you. And you can see we've got this type of light, which comes from the SDK. I don't have to worry about that. It's a super easy SDK to do. You do get light async, and boom, you get the list of lights. And then we've got the commands. Now, the commands are where it gets fun, because we can do almost anything you can imagine here. So we can build up states and then send it as a command. So we can select multiple lights and send it as one command, and it will go out to all of them and set them. Within this mini hack, I'm just controlling one lamp at a time, but we ask you to extend it and do something interesting. Now, we've got this on GitHub, so why don't I just load up GitHub so you can find it. Look at that, I need to make some more things public. Now, this is just on mine, but we also have it on the Xamarin one as well. And you'll see you can literally copy and paste the code. If you don't want to learn the API and you just want to complete the mini hack, you can come in here, copy and paste the code all the way down to step 9, and you're good to go. Now, to win a starter kit, which is the 3 lamps and a bridge, right? And is it the nice new bridge? It's a nice. So to win one of those, we ask you to extend it and do something interesting with it. Now, I heard a guy that was, the vanity mirrors that you go and sit in front of to do your makeup. No? I'm kind of surprised that no one in here does that. What he wanted was an eye beacon there, so that when you walk up, the lights fade on. Now, I've got the idea that my Philips uses at the moment, it's got the alarm clock set for 6 o'clock in the morning in the UK, so that's turning on every morning. Well, that's not great because I'm not home. So I want to put an eye beacon next to my bed, because that's where I charge my phone. So when I put my phone down, it knows that I'm home, so it knows in the morning to turn the alarm on. So that's another example of how we can extend this and build it all together in an integrated system. So that's kind of a very, very quick demo. As I say, this stuff is super easy to get started with. So if you have an idea of the kind of home automation that you want, and there isn't an app already out there for you, just go and build it. So thanks very much, and I'm going to pass back.
All right, great. Thanks, everybody. If there are any questions that anybody would like to ask, we'll take questions now. Otherwise, you can come up and see any of us after the session as well.
You have a question at the back over there?
Yeah. Can you speak a bit louder?
Oh, that's going to make it much easier for
Yeah,
us.
so can you, if you can repeat it?
No worries.
Is there any plan to work with other light bulb manufacturers to come up with a single standard for the API that we can use to light bulb smart bulbs available? Because it's pretty hard to cover different manufacturers and the market is just saying.
Yeah, so if you look at it from the communication protocol point of view, then we are using Zigbee there. So that's really coming from the lighting industry. So that's something we try to, of course, not everyone goes with it, but at least that's something we try to get as a standard from the communication perspective. But in terms of functionality, of course, with Hue, we add quite a lot of functionality. So that requires also that we have a separate, let's say, API for it. But yeah, so that's how I can answer for the time being.
Let me add to that also that with the HomeKit support, HomeKit is becoming an Apple ecosystem standard. And although Philips Hue doesn't support Google and the Weave yet, I don't know. I don't know if you want to speak about it yet. That's another competing standard that we'll start to see come out as well. And what I think that people are doing now, if they want to bring in solutions that span multiple devices of different types, is they're using solutions like the if this then that to pull everything together. And it seems a little daunting at first until you go to their website and you see that almost anything you can imagine that you would want to do with different devices has been done, and all you need to do is grab and click on the recipe, as they call it.
I think it's a good point. So I think if you look into the smart home platform providers, I think they, of course, they will offer a certain level of abstraction. But again, what I would like to express there is there will be, let's say, some standard lighting related things. And I think those are things that you can perhaps have some standards around, that it can be just, you can on and off any lamp, or you can dim it and so on. But once you start creating very, let's say, relatively complex user experiences, then there will be some differentiations there, I would say. Any other question?
One over here. Microphones.
Yeah, so Zigbee creates mesh network. So the thing is, actually, if more bulbs you have in your house, the better reception you have. So for those difficult. But what we indeed do is that lamps also talk to each other, so that you can reach to difficult points in your house. So if you look at from a lighting control point of view, of course, you would like to make sure that if I say turn on my light, it really turns on, right? So you don't want to have the situation that once in a while the message gets lost and so on. So indeed, they talk to each other to make sure that we increase the chances. The more lights you have, the better chance of reception as well. Any other question? So who has Hue at home? Who is using Hue? Nice.
Who has built an app for Hue? 1, 2. Yeah. Come find me afterwards. I want to chat about it.
Me too.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, everybody. And enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks. Thank you.